When they get to the pool hall, they walk around for a minute searching for DeMarcus. They don't see any sign of him and head by the bar to grab a few beers while they wait to see if he shows up. Coulson walks into the lab carrying a vial of the director's blood. "Is that blood?" asks Fitz. "That was the only way the director could hand us over the serum. I got a blood sample off him 10 minutes after it was administered," explains Coulson. Fitz starts running tests on the sample to compare to the residue found inside the vial from the victim. Meanwhile, Emilie is out in the airplane hangar, trying to get a feel for her wings. "What good is having these things if they don't work?" she says to herself. She flaps them again and again, but can't manage to get off the ground. She pulls them back in frustration and feels a weird sensation run down her back. She rubs her hand across her back and feels an opening just under the base of her wings. She pulls back on it and folds her wing into a flap of skin. Once completely hidden, the skin looks and feels seamless. "I guess you can continue deceiving people," says Gabe, rolling his chair up behind her. She flexes her wing and it slides back out from under her skin, without the pain and trauma of when she got them. "Despite what you may think of me, Gabe, I never deceived you. Your reaction to what I am is exactly why I never told anyone." She walks over and looks him in the eyes. "I never pretended to be anything other than myself." "How can I trust you? And Robbie?" "I can't explain Robbie's actions to you. I can only say you are everything to him, and anything he has done, he has always done with your well-being in mind. He doesn't always make the best decisions, but the decisions he makes are with the best intentions. I'm going to stay at the dorm again. Agent Coulson's made arrangements. I'll be getting my stuff from the house." Emilie nods at his decision and he leaves. Robbie spots DeMarcus walking into the pool hall. "That's him," he says, pointing him out to Mac. They watch him and a few of his crew move through the room and order a few beers. They head over to one of the pool tables and rack up. "You still racking nails?" asks Robbie, walking up. DeMarcus turns and looks surprised to see him. "Robbie, what's poppin', man?" "Not much. Been playing it straight." Yeah, no doubt. You still driving that raggedy ass?" "Hey, man," says Robbie, cutting him off. "We can take it to the streets right now." DeMarcus laughs. "What brings you to this side of town?" You still got that shop off Crenshaw?" "Yeah." "Me and my boy were looking to make some extra on the side." He gestures over to Mac. "You know, I'm running a few gigs now. You and me cool, but your dude? I don't know. He's pretty good with cars. Not looking to get into anything heavy." DeMarcus takes a look at Mac drinking his beer. "Let me think on it. You know you always good with me, though. Let me buy you guys another round." Robbie, Mac, and DeMarcus hang out over a few rounds of pool before shaking hands and parting ways. "So what's up?" Mac asks Robbie. "How fast can Fitz set you up with a prison record?" asks Robbie. "What?" questions Mac. "You're gonna need one if this is gonna work." Mac gets Fitz on the phone and has him create a phony prison record with a few grand theft auto and drug possession charges. They swing by Emilie's house to grab a few things. Robbie notices Gabe is there, packing his belongings. He tosses Mac the keys to Emilie's Mustang, and he steps outside to give the two brothers some privacy. "You leaving?" asks Robbie. "Yeah," responds Gabe. There's an awkward silence between them for a moment before it is broken by the two simultaneously. They say, and then pause, not wanting to interrupt the other. "I'm sorry I never told you," says Robbie. "Why? How?" Robbie explains the night him and Gabe almost died, how he did die, moments before being resurrected by the Ghost Rider. "I pled for anyone listening to spare your life. I was willing to give mine to make sure you live. I paid with my soul. You've killed people. He's killed people, clarifies Robbie. He can see into their souls, see everything they've ever done. That doesn't give you the right to murder them. You may have given your soul for my life, but their blood is on your hands, not mine. He pauses. I can't forgive you. Not yet. He grabs his bags and rolls his wheelchair out the door where a shield vehicle is waiting for him. Robbie grabs a few things for him and Emilie before he and Mac ride back to HQ. Quite the record you got here, Mac, says Fitz, catching Mac walking down the hall. Grand theft auto, joyriding, possession, and quite a few speeding tickets. He hands him a copy of the fake criminal record he made for him. Thanks, I guess, replies Mac, looking over the documents. Robbie walks by the sparring room to find May and Emilie going over combat techniques. What happened to... questions Robbie, pointing at his back. Emilie flexes her wings out of the folds and opens them. Behave. I might let you touch them later, she says flirtatiously. He smiles and walks away to let Coulson know what he has planned with DeMarcus. You think DeMarcus can lead us to Grumpy? Asks Coulson. If anything, he can lead us to a supplier. Grumpy and DeMarcus both have the streets covered. If you need to get a product on the streets, they're who you want running it. That evening, Emilie sits in her car, thinking when Robbie gets into the passenger side. You taking a page out of my book? He asks. She smiles. I just wanted to be alone. Want me to leave? Never, she says with a smile as she grabs his hand. What's been on my mind affects you too. I was thinking of staying with S.H.I.E.L.D. as an agent for a while. What? I don't know what I want anymore. I want a normal life, but we're not normal. And I can make more of a difference here than I ever could in the clinic. Is working for S.H.I.E.L.D. what you want? I just want to be somewhere that accepts me. And right now, the world outside of S.H.I.E.L.D. isn't too accepting of our kind. But I also know that if you're not with me, either way, I won't be happy. I spoke to Gabe when I went by the house. He needs some space. He turns to look at Emilie. You stay, I stay. The next evening, Robbie goes with Mac to see DeMarcus. So how things looking? Asks Robbie. Your man checks out. When you trying to get this money? Asks DeMarcus. Whenever you're willing to part with it, says Mac. Money comes and goes, partner. Rico over here gonna have you get started on a few things. He signals Rico to take Mac and Robbie back to one of the bays to start stripping down a car. Fitzsimmons go over the results of the director's blood and determine there are too many similarities between the serum and the drug created by Hyde. We need to find out who the scientists were that worked on this formula. Maybe they have ties to a lab that may have been trying to replicate it, insists Fitz. I don't know how I feel about hacking into a highly classified S.H.I.E.L.D. file, says Simmons as she catches a glimpse of Quake walking down the hall. Daisy! Just who I needed to see, she says, stopping her. I need you to hack S.H.I.E.L.D. for me. Says Quake as Simmons grabs her hand and walks her over to a computer. After a few hours, Quake is able to get the information they are looking for. There were 9 scientists that were involved in the making of the director's serum, states Quake. It looks like one of them just recently passed from a heart attack. Dr. Nathan Briggs, mentions Simmons. How convenient, says Quake. It looks like he was in the process of consulting with several pharmaceutical companies. Fitz starts cross-checking the points of interest in the companies that Dr. Nathan had been consulting. Robbie gets a phone call from Coulson shortly after starting work on a car for DeMarcus. Robbie, I need you to keep your eyes peeled. There wasn't enough residue in the vial Emilie picked up at the clinic to test sufficiently. We need a full vial of the drug. I'll see what I can do, but he doesn't have the stuff just laying around in the open. Robbie hangs up after noticing one of DeMarcus's men eyeing him and starts working on the car again. Coulson finds Emilie with May. "Will's up in 10, he orders. "Where are we going?" asks May. Fitz narrowed down a lab in Wisconsin that one of the scientists was consulting. Its main area of research is hormone therapy. "We're going to have a look." He starts to head off when Emilie stops him. "Coulson, I was wanting to ask you about maybe staying on for a bit." "As an agent?" he asks. "Have you talked to Robbie about this?" "Yeah, I did." He nods. "Welcome to the team. Suit up. We'll handle formalities later. I could use an extra man." Emilie changes and gets on the Quinjet with Coulson, May, and Quake. They fly out to a small lab in Sturgeon Bay, Wisconsin. They land the plane nearby and drive up to the facility. "This place looks empty," says May to Coulson. "Are you sure you got the right address?" "Google hasn't let me down yet," he replies. They walk around the perimeter and find no one. They enter in through a side door in the main building. "They are definitely closed for business," says Quake as she checks the security station and finds the systems all offline. "Daisy, you and Emilie take the 3rd floor and check out the labs. Me and May will check out the 2nd floor administration. See if we can find out who Dr. Nathan's point of contact was." Emilie and Quake walk into the 3rd floor labs to find it empty. "Guys, there's nothing here. And I mean nothing," radios Quake. "There's gotta be something. Keep looking." "We're standing in a room of tables and chairs," she informs. "What?" asks Coulson. "There is nothing here. Just a couple of computer tables and rolling chairs," replies Quake. "Even the lab rats are gone," states Emilie, looking at empty rodent cages. She covers her nose from the smell of dirty cages and sneezes so violently her wings open. "Bless you," says Quake, turning to her. Guys?" Emilie's gone. Emilie's eyes jolt open at the cold air on her skin. "Guys," she calls out on the radio. "Emilie, where are you?" asks May. "I have no idea, but it's freezing and dark." "Are you still in the building?" asks Coulson. "I don't know." She produces a small flame in the palm of her hand that flickers dimly in the cold air. "I'm in a room. I think I'm in a freezer." Coulson pulls up the tracking device to track Emilie's location. "We're coming to get you." She walks over to a small light and pulls the cord to turn it on. She turns and looks around in horror. Guys, I think I know where everyone is." The door to the freezer opens and Emilie steps out. The team looks around at the carcasses of dead animals and several scientists. "Looks like Hyde tied up all his loose ends," concludes Coulson. "How did you get in there?" asks Quake. "I don't know. I just sneezed." "Your wings," points out May. "Maybe you teleported, like Gideon." "Great. Now every time I sneeze, I'm gonna dream of Jeannie myself somewhere." "I'm sure Fitzsimmons will figure something out," assures Coulson. "In the meantime, try to hold it in." They go back down to the administrative floor and start looking for anything that may tie Dr. Nathan to the facility. They find a few files that link him to the company and head back to HQ. Coulson calls Director Mason, confirming that Dr. Nathan Briggs was consulting about data from S.H.I.E.L.D. with an outside lab in hopes of recreating the director's serum. "So, you have no idea what you did to get into the freezer?" Simmons questions Emilie in the lab. "I just sneezed." Fitz walks over to Simmons' purse and pulls out her perfume bottle. He sprays it in Emilie's face, who starts to sneeze, but loses the sensation. "Was worth a shot," he says, shrugging it off. Emilie finally lets off a small sneeze, transporting herself into the testing booth. "Oh my," says Simmons. Fitzsimmons can't think of any solutions for Emilie's random teleporting, so they try to prevent it by having her wear a corset to keep her wings from becoming exposed. "I'm sure it's not comfortable, but Hopefully it will keep you in place, says Simmons as she tightens the straps of the corset. Fitz walks over with a tube and tells Emilie to sniff it. The smell sends her on a sneezing fit, but she manages to stay in the lab. Well, I guess we found our temporary solution, says Simmons. Robbie and Mac meet back up with the team on Zephyr 1 later that night. Were you able to get a sample? Asks Coulson. No, he doesn't keep his supply there, replies Robbie. You change your lookup? Asks Mac, referring to Emilie's corset. More like my location, she says sarcastically. I can teleport now. Pretty handy power to have, he says. Not when you don't know where you're going, she points out. She ended up in a freezer at the lab we were checking out, mentions Coulson. Robbie smirks. It's not funny, she says, trying not to laugh. It was full of dead bodies. Any idea where DeMarcus might keep his supply? Asked Coulson. DeMarcus Walker? Asked Emilie. You know him? Asked Mac. Yeah, she confirms, avoiding eye contact with Robbie. I think I can find out where he's keeping it. Mac, I need you to get in touch with Yo-Yo. I think we could use a fresh face around here collecting intel, orders Coulson. The team is dismissed and Robbie stays staring at Emilie. So how do you know DeMarcus? He asks. We dated, replies Emilie, not wanting to discuss it. Not really your type, he says with a smirk. Let's see. Likes muscle cars, tall, handsome, devilishly charming at times. She wraps her arms around Robbie. Doesn't sound like your type at all, he says with a smile. It was a long time ago, she reassures him.